This is my aftercooler setup for my air compressor using an air conditioner condenser out of a 2007 Suburban. If you'll remember, quite a while back, I parted one out for the frame and the engine and a bunch of stuff. That was one of the things I took off and has just been laying around here. Luckily, I'd saved all the hoses and the lines, so I was able to rebend this line. And then this one I was able to do a little bit of new bending on it, but really it's too long and not quite the right shape. So what I'm thinking I'll probably do is cut it off right about here, and then I have another fitting that'll fit into this junction that's just straight, and I'll cut it off and just do a compression fitting between the two, which is all that the fitting is right here. This is a compression fitting here and a compression fitting up here. It just feeds into. So my compressor is it's a Cobalt brand, which I think that's Lowe's. Here is what I came up with for my final modification to my compressor. So my air compressor is way back there by the door, and you have to find your way around because I have so much crap in here. What I did was put a switch here, and it turns on that red light when it's on and off, and it turns off the blue light. So the switch controls a contactor that's over by the fuse panel, and then takes the 220. Contactor is basically just a relay, and basically turns the 220 on and off with a 110 volt signal. So you might have been able to hear the click. So anytime the air compressor's switched on, that light is on, and then it has power all the way back over at the air compressor. So now my hope with this setup is that I will be more reliable in turning my air compressor off at the end of each day. Because one of the worst things you could do is leave that thing on and then have a belt freeze up. The compressor itself freezes up, so the motor keeps spinning until the belt catches fire, and then you burn your place down. So it's never really a good idea to leave your air compressor turned on when you're not around it. You know, if you're taking off to go eat lunch for an hour or whatever, no big deal. But big deal, you know, I'm not in the shop for 2 or 3 days at a time a lot of times, and I don't want this thing out here running for days on end if it blows a hole in a line somewhere. Costs money, it's not good on the compressor, and it's not good on the motor. You know, the motor never gets a chance to cool off. So that was my little way to do it. Basically, by putting it where I did, when I walk in the door, I can turn the lights on, I can turn on the compressor, and then I can turn them both off as I'm leaving. And, you know, the blue light should remind me, hey, you left your compressor on. Completely empty. So we saw a max of about 201 degrees here, max of about 180 something up here, and this temperature down here has never really gone over about 54 or 55. So looking back at this, so we have the air conditioning compressor or air conditioning condenser here, and then these are the factory AC lines. I just bent them a little bit, just changed the bends and put a compression fitting on there. 1/2-inch compression fitting goes into my compressor head. And then I used same line off of there. It will pivot right here, so you can kind of turn it wherever you need to go. And I would like to shorten this up and come just straight around. I suspect that fluid, like water, could be held up here. And then, of course, it could be held in this loop down here as well. So I'd like to get rid of both of those, but it's my down and dirty, quick and easy aftercooler. You can see this one's very large. So not quite 30 inches wide by 17 inches tall. And I can tell you, if I was going out to the junkyard to find one of these, I would look for one a little shorter, you know, just cover the width of the wire basket there, or even a little smaller, because the part of this that gets hot is this corner here, and by the time you're on the other end of the fan, it's not even hardly warm anymore. It's certainly, you can easily touch it, and this down here is cold. So just, it happens to be about 55 degrees out here in the shop this morning, and that's about what the temperature of that fitting is. As you can see, we ran it for a full cycle. There is 0 water in there. I thought somebody could probably use something like this. I think this came out of a Jeep, like a Jeep Grand Cherokee. And it would really not be very difficult to go in here and drill, thread these with like a MPT, a National Pipe Thread. And then you could plug one or whatever, because this one oddly has outlets on both sides, so I don't know, you know, which way to use that. That's just another used one that was laying around here that I thought about using, but you can see it's got a pretty good bend in it from when that truck was wrecked. But you could use something like that, or, you know, which would honestly would fit better. So if you just figured out which fittings, you know, let air in the top and came out the bottom, you would have a really easy to use system right there. And then once again, if you had the factory hoses, you could just reuse the factory hoses and put whatever ends you need on them, factory hard lines, or just different ideas. And, you know, a lot of this stuff is cheap. Appreciate you following along. I'll have links in the description for the water separator and probably the fittings, but that's it. Everything else is just used leftover parts off of scrapped vehicles that I had here, and would be very easy to go to the junkyard and pick up some cheap ones. Buy new if you want, but you know, those things are made to hold like 250, 300 PSI. So, you know, as long as it was working when it was put in the junkyard, it's still going to be in good shape, or it's still going to work. You know, this one even had a little bit of oil in it, and it's been laying around the shop here for probably 2 years. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all the other YouTube stuff. We'll see you again next time on Alice.